Fighting fires since 1843, the Huntington Fire Department celebrates its 150th anniversary, marching proudly with 30 other fire departments from Long Island.
The most important job was to see that we could save lives, get people out of burning buildings or drowning, and all that was the most important thing, to get the person out lives safe. And we saved a lot of them. They should know that when a man volunteers, his life is at risk the same as any other, like the cops and all that, and he has to go through a lot. His life is at risk, and they should remember that.
All the improvements during the years, and the apparatus improved, and the equipment and everything is 100% better than it was years ago.
Equipment certainly has come a long way over the years. Here we see a photo of the original hose wagon in 1893. This was towed by hand or by horse. Here the wagon is being towed to a fire by a team of horses around that same year. Nowadays, there's no fire too big for Huntington's 1986 water tanker. This piece of apparatus holds 5,500 gallons of water and pumps it out at 300 gallons per minute. Its primary use is for the community of Lloyd Neck because there are no fire hydrants in that area of Huntington's fire district. It also responds with other fire departments during mutual aid brush fires. Thought of as the Model T of the fire industry, this motorized Grabowski hook and ladder is seen pulling the first gasoline pumper that Huntington ever had. These two pieces of equipment would make up Huntington's total apparatus at that time. They still managed to put out quite a number of fires and save many lives. In front of the firehouse on Main Street in Huntington Village is the 1912 American LaFrance hook and ladder, Huntington's most modern truck of its kind at that time. In 1947, getting to the top of a burning building was not as simple as it is today. Huntington's earlier model hook and ladder has been replaced by the more modern 1983 100-foot power ladder, which can pump 2,000 gallons of water per minute. This piece of apparatus was last used at the Walt Whitman Mall fire in 1991.
150 years ago, they had basically a bucket brigade, and in the turn of the century, in the 1900s, they had, I believe, the first motorized hook and ladder and pumper, and from there on, it just progressed better for the firemen. We came up with breathing apparatus where they only wore coal masks, I believe, and from there on, we've had more advanced equipment.
The Main Street Firehouse in the late 1930s with all of its apparatus inside. Notice the folding doors, which were soon after done away with after a man was accidentally crushed to death by them. Here we see the Main Street Firehouse in the 1940s with the apparatus inside. The newly installed overhead doors are out of the picture. From right to left, notice a Buick car, hook and ladder, pumper, and a light truck. Here, Huntington Fire Department today, on Leverage Place, with a little different look. Huntington's prized possession, an 1840 original hand pumper, which was acquired from the Flatlands Fire Company in Brooklyn, New York. This pumper had to arrive on the Long Island Railroad at Syosset because at that time, that's the furthest the train traveled. From there, it was pulled by a team of horses to the Wall Street Firehouse in Huntington. Everything on the hand pumper is original and was just recently restored for the 150th anniversary. It's in the original colors that the pumper came in, although years later it was painted red. This pumper has actively aided in putting out many fires and is held as a treasure by the Huntington Fire Department. Interestingly enough to note that the horse-drawn pumper could get to the scene of a fire within the same time it would take a motorized vehicle. Huntington's newest pumper, a 1989 Class A pumper, has a 6-man enclosed crew cab and pumps 1,500 gallons of water per minute. The tank capacity is 750 gallons, and there's also a 40-gallon spare tank. Here we see the 1840 hand pumper being pulled as done years ago by the firemen of the Huntington Fire Department. Right behind it, the 1989 Class A pumper. Next, the 1983 100-foot power ladder. Here comes Huntington's water rescue truck. Notice the life raft atop the vehicle. And last, the rescue ambulance and trucks.
Huntington Fire Department is a little bit different than other fire departments in that we have the 3 original firehouses are still standing. First one built in 1869. Second firehouse was built in 1911, and the current firehouse was built in 1958.
As the parade strolls down Main Street, it will pass the second of 3 firehouses. Built in 1911, it is now a historic landmark. Today, the building is a furniture store. However, the original doors were kept intact. Also, the sign which reads Fire Department is still on the building. Huntington's first firehouse, built in 1869. This photo was probably taken around 1902. Here we see the hand pumper out in front. The Wall Street Firehouse is also a landmark site. Now a small business, it has kept some of its old attributes. As the parade winds down towards the Leverage Firehouse, it first passes the Wall Street Firehouse.
made me join the fire department. I'm second generation firefighter. My father was a fireman, was a chief here. And basically it was that following your father's footsteps initially. And then as you get into it, it's the community service that really makes it worth it.
I joined the fire department in 1943 during World War II when the firefighters were going to the war, and they took juniors out of the schools at 16 years old to help whatever stood home to fight fires. And I went from a junior right into regular firefighter, and I now have started my 51st year as of March.
My father was a fireman, and as long as I can remember, I was hanging around down here.
I was basically almost born and raised. My father was an ex-chief here back in the 50s, and I've been ever since I was a little boy, always enjoyed it, and through the men and the families that were here, it was a great place to be raised, and that's what made me want to continue and join and serve and become a chief.
Why I became a firefighter? I guess I was born a firefighter. My dad was a member of this department, an active member. He rose to the rank of first deputy chief. He was an active member here for over 60 years. And I've been a member for over 40 years. And I have a son who was chief of this department, which I'm very proud of, and another son who is also a fireman. So I guess fireman is just part of my being.
Because disaster strikes someone every single day, there's always going to be one more night someone needs food, shelter, and a place to rest. Please support the American Red Cross. Because without your help, one more night could be hard to come by.
Hey, nice try, dummies.
Take a hike, Thurston. He's no crash dummy, not a scratch on him.
Thurston's my hero.
Why is that, my little battered buddy?
Because he gets to wear the safety belt.
No wonder he's still got his original paint job.
You can't hate a dummy for being smart.
I guess so.
Here he comes.
Hey, keep up the good work, guys.
Buckle it up, Thurston.
I always do.
You could learn a lot from a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.